The drums sounded tired. Each strike landed, but the sound fell flat, like a voice that had spoken too much without being heard. Kofi struck it again, harder this time, hoping strength could make up for what the drum skin had lost. It didn't. People passed him in the market without slowing. Some glanced at him out of pity. Others didn't look at all. Hunger made people efficient with their attention. "Play something joyful," a trader muttered as he walked past. "This one sounds like suffering." Kofi lowered his hands. Sweat ran down his spine despite the early hour. He had been there since dawn, drumming for coins, for anything that could be turned into food before nightfall. Nothing had come. By midday, his palms burned and his stomach twisted painfully. He wrapped the drum in cloth and stood, forcing his legs to move toward home. His wife, Amma, met him at the doorway. She didn't ask how the market went. She looked at his hands instead. "Tomorrow," Kofi said quickly, before the silence could speak. "The market was slow today." Amma nodded and turned back inside. Their son sat on the floor, tracing patterns in the dust with his finger. "Papa," the boy said, "will we eat later?" Kofi swallowed. Yes. It was a lie, but a gentle one, the kind parents learn to tell carefully. That evening, Kofi took the long path past the forest road, hoping to find fallen firewood to sell. The sun was already low when he heard the sound. A groan, faint, strained. He followed it and found an old man collapsed beside the road, his clothes dusty, his breathing shallow. "Grandfather," Kofi said, kneeling, "can you hear me?" The old man's eyes fluttered open. "Water," he whispered. Kofi hesitated only a second. He poured the little water he carried into the man's mouth, then lifted him carefully to the shade. "I will stay," Kofi said. "Rest." Night crept in slowly. Kofi sat beside the stranger, fighting sleep, hunger, and regret. He could have gone home. He could have sold the firewood he'd collected. Instead, he stayed. By morning, the old man stirred. "You did not leave," he said. Kofi shrugged. It would have felt wrong. The old man studied him closely, then reached into the bundle beside him. He pulled out a drum. Its skin was smooth and unmarked. The wood was dark, polished by time. "Take this," the man said. Kofi recoiled slightly. "I cannot. I did nothing special." The old man smiled faintly. "That is why you should." Kofi hesitated, then accepted it carefully. "Use it with a clean heart," the old man added. Before Kofi could respond, the man stood, walked a few steps down the road, and disappeared into the morning haze. That afternoon, Kofi sat in his compound staring at the drum. Amma noticed immediately. "Where did that come from?" "A gift," Kofi said. She frowned. "From who?" "I don't know." That night, Kofi took the drum to the market square. He struck it once. The sound was deep, full, alive. People stopped. He struck it again. Children drifted closer. Traders paused mid-argument. A woman dropped her basket without noticing. Coins landed at his feet. Food appeared. By the time Kofi stopped playing, his hands shook, not from exhaustion, but disbelief. He returned home with grain, oil, and dried fish. Amma stared at the bundles. "What did you do?" "I played," Kofi said softly. That night, they ate well for the first time in weeks. But Kofi barely touched his food. He watched the drum instead. Something about it felt heavy. The next day, word spread. People followed Kofi through the market. They called his name. They asked him to play near their stalls. The drum never failed. Each beat pulled people in. Each rhythm filled baskets and purses. By the third day, the elder summoned him. "What you have has power," one elder said slowly. Kofi nodded. "I only play." "Be careful," the elder warned. "Power tests the heart before it blesses the hands." Kofi thanked them and left. That night, a neighbor came begging. "My child is sick," the woman said. "Play the drum near my house." Kofi agreed. The next night, another came, then another. Soon he could not play for everyone. When he refused one man, the man spat and walked away. The drum sounded different that night, just slightly. Kofi noticed. He played anyway. By the end of the first week, Kofi no longer walked through the market unnoticed. People called his name before he arrived. Traders saved space for him near their stalls. Children ran ahead of him shouting, "The drummer is coming! The drummer is coming!" The sound of the drum had become a promise. When Kofi struck it, people gathered without thinking. Coins fell easily. Food appeared, as if the market itself had decided to be generous. Amma watched it all with quiet amazement. "We should thank whoever sent that man," she said one evening as she counted grain. "This drum has lifted us." Kofi nodded, but the elder's words returned to him. Power tests the heart before it blesses the hands. He shook the thought away. That night, he played longer than usual. His hands ached, but the crowd refused to leave. Each time he slowed, someone called out, "Just one more rhythm." When he finally stopped, the drum felt warm beneath his palms. Too warm. The next morning, requests came early. A butcher wanted him to play near his stall. A trader offered him a better place in the market. A wealthy man from the next village sent word asking him to come play for a gathering, for payment. Kofi hesitated. He had never been paid before, not like that. Amma noticed his silence. "What is wrong?" "They want me to choose," Kofi said. "I cannot play everywhere." Amma smiled gently. "That is not a bad problem." But it felt like one. When Kofi chose the butcher over the fish seller frowned and packed his goods early. When Kofi played for the wealthy man's gathering, poor traders complained that the market felt empty without the drum. "You belong to all of us," one man said sharply. Kofi laughed it off. "I am only one man." Yet that night, when he played alone in his compound, the sound felt impatient, as if the drum itself wanted something more. On the fourth day, the elders called him again. "You are becoming a center," one elder said carefully. "Centers attract weight." Another added, "Do not let gratitude turn into expectation." Kofi bowed respectfully, but inside, pride stirred. "If I stop, they will suffer." That evening, a woman came late, breathless. "My child," she cried, "he cannot breathe. Please play." Kofi looked at the drum, then at the darkening sky. He was exhausted. "I will come tomorrow," he said. The woman fell to her knees. "Please." Kofi hesitated, then shook his head. "I cannot tonight." She left silently. That night, Kofi slept poorly. The next morning, he heard the news. The child had died. No one blamed him openly, but eyes followed him differently now, some with disappointment, some with quiet anger. When Kofi struck the drum that day, the sound carried, but not as smoothly. He frowned and adjusted his rhythm. The crowd still came, but something had shifted. The man approached him after. "If you had played, that child might still be alive." Kofi's chest tightened. "I am not a healer." "No, but people believe you are." Belief. The word stayed with him. That afternoon, a trader slipped extra coins into Kofi's hand. "Play longer at my store," the trader whispered. "It helps business." Kofi pulled his hand back. "I don't do that." The trader smiled thinly. "Everyone does something." The next day, another trader made the same offer. This time, Kofi hesitated longer. Amma noticed the coins that night. "These are more than usual." Kofi nodded slowly. "People insist." She studied his face. "Be careful what they insist on next." By the end of the second week, arguments broke out in the market. Why did he play there and not here? Why does he listen to them? He thinks he is better now. Kofi felt trapped between gratitude and resentment. One evening, exhausted and frustrated, he struck the drum harder than necessary. The His sound rang sharp and commanding. The crowd quieted instantly. Silence, then applause. Kofi's heart raced, not with fear, but with something else, control. That night, alone, he spoke to the drum without realizing it. "I only want to help," he said softly. The drum answered with a deep, resonant hum. Or maybe it was only the echo in his chest. The next morning, Kofi made a decision. If he could not play for everyone, he would set rules. He announced it publicly. "I will play at certain times," he said. "Those who wish to hear me must come then." Some nodded, others grumbled. A few smiled knowingly. The drum sounded strong that day, strongest yet. But when Kofi returned home, Amma was waiting. "You are changing," she said quietly.
Kofi frowned. "I am managing." She shook her head. "You are deciding." That night, as Kofi wrapped the drum carefully, he noticed something carved faintly into the wood, marks he did not remember seeing before. They looked like lines or cracks. He ran his fingers over them. The drum was warm again, and for the first time since receiving it, Kofi wondered what it would take to lose it. By the third week, the market no longer sounded the same. Before, voices overlapped freely, laughter, bargaining, arguments that ended in jokes. Now, conversations paused whenever Kofi approached. People watched him the way they watched the sky during the rainy season, measuring their hopes against his movements. Kofi felt it everywhere. In the way traders straightened their stalls when he walked past. In the way children stopped playing to listen for the drum. In the way silence gathered before his first strike. He told himself it was responsibility. "If I don't guide this, it will turn chaotic," he thought. So he guided it. He began deciding where to play based on who asked first, then based on who asked politely, then without noticing the change, based on who offered something in return. Not bribes, he told himself, appreciation. When a wealthy trader offered him a sack of rice to play longer near his stall, Kofi accepted. When a poor woman asked him to come later, he told her to wait. "Tomorrow," he said, "I will come tomorrow." Tomorrow kept moving. Amma watched him carefully. "You missed the widow again today," she said one evening as they ate. Kofi frowned. "I cannot be everywhere." "She came twice," Amma replied. "Her son still limps." Kofi set his bowl down. "Do you want me to starve again?" Amma said nothing. That night, the drum sounded sharp. Kofi struck it harder, pushing the rhythm forward, forcing the sound to behave. The crowd obeyed. Coins clattered at his feet. Yet his chest felt tight. A man named Yaro, Kofi's friend since childhood, approached him after the crowd thinned. "You remember when we drummed together?" Yaro asked quietly. "For fun." Kofi smiled faintly. "This is still fun?" Yaro shook his head. "No, this is power." Kofi laughed a little too loudly. "You speak as if power is bad." Yaro met his eyes. "Power without rest eats its owner." Kofi waved him off. The next morning, Kofi announced a fee. Not loudly, not proudly, just a small fee for private requests. The word spread fast. Some nodded in understanding. Some looked hurt. Some smiled with relief. Now they could secure his presence. By afternoon, arguments broke out. "I paid yesterday. I asked first. He always plays for them." Kofi stood in the middle, trying to calm people, but enjoying, just a little, the way his voice carried authority. "Enough," he said once, raising his hand. The crowd fell silent instantly. The feeling sent a shiver through him. That evening, a man arrived carrying a sick child. "Please," the man begged, "I will pay later. Just play." Kofi hesitated. Others were waiting, people who had already paid. He looked at the drum. "I cannot tonight," he said finally. "Tomorrow." The man's shoulders sagged. He turned away without another word. Amma watched from the doorway, her face pale. "You are becoming cruel," she said softly. Kofi snapped, "I am becoming practical." That night, the drum refused to sound right. No matter how he struck it, the rhythm felt wrong, too fast, too heavy. The warmth beneath his palms grew uncomfortable, like holding something alive that resisted being touched. He stopped playing abruptly. The silence unsettled the compound. The next day, the news spread before Kofi reached the market. The child had died in the night. People did not shout at him. That hurt more. They avoided his eyes. Conversations dropped when he approached. The market felt colder, sharper. When he finally played, fewer people came. Those who did came with expectations, not joy. Coins fell, but without gratitude. That afternoon, Yarrow confronted him. "You could have helped," he said. Kofi's jaw tightened. "I cannot carry every burden." "But you choose which ones matter," Yarrow replied. The words stung because they were true. That night, Kofi dreamed of the drum beating by itself, louder and louder, calling people who no longer came. He woke sweating. In the morning, desperation crept in quietly. If people were losing faith, he needed to remind them. He played longer, louder, more often. He skipped meals. He ignored Amma's worry. The drum responded, drawing crowds again. But the feeling was different now. Not warm, hungry. People argued openly over him. A fight broke out near his store one afternoon. Two men wrestled on the ground, both shouting his name, both demanding priority. "Stop!" Kofi yelled. They ignored him. When the elders arrived, they looked at Kofi differently. "You are no longer gathering people," one said. "You are dividing them." Kofi bowed stiffly. "I did not ask for this." "No," the elder replied, "but you are feeding it." That night, Kofi tried to leave the drum at home. He told himself he needed rest, but his hands trembled until he picked it up again. When he struck it, relief flooded him. The sound filled the compound, strong and demanding. Amma stepped back instinctively. "Kofi," she whispered, "that drum is no longer serving you." Kofi did not answer. He played until his palms burned. Far away, beyond the market road, someone cried out in anger, and someone else cried out in hunger. The drum kept beating.
The market woke that morning already angry. Kofi could feel it before anyone spoke. The air itself seemed tight, stretched thin by expectation and resentment. People gathered early, not with excitement, but with calculation. Who would get Kofi today? Who would be ignored? He stood at the edge of the square, the drum resting against his leg like a weight he could not put down. Amma touched his arm. "You don't have to go today." Kofi shook his head. "If I don't, it will be worse." That was the truth now. His presence calmed nothing, but his absence provoked everything. When he struck the drum, the sound cut through the market sharply. People turned at once. Conversation stopped. A crowd formed almost by force. Coins appeared at his feet, tossed quickly, urgently, as if payment itself could secure favor. A man shoved another aside. "I paid yesterday." "You paid less," the other snapped back. Kofi raised his voice. "Enough!" For a moment, they listened. Then a woman screamed. Near the grain stalls, two traders were fighting openly, fists flying. A basket overturned, grain spilled into the dust, children scattered, crying. "Stop!" Kofi shouted again, moving toward them. The drum slipped from his shoulder and struck the ground. The sound that came from it was wrong. Not a beat, a crack. The crowd froze. Kofi stared at the drum, his heart pounding. The carved lines he had noticed before now stood out clearly, longer, deeper, branching like veins. Amma pushed through the crowd. "Kofi," she whispered, "look at it." He lifted the drum slowly. The skin was intact, but the wood beneath felt warmer than ever, almost burning. Before he could react, an elder stepped forward. "This must end," the man said loudly. "This drum is tearing the village apart." Murmurs rose immediately. "You want us to starve again?" someone shouted. "You speak because you don't need him." Kofi's chest tightened. "I never asked for this," he said, his voice cracking. "I only wanted to help." "Then stop," the elder replied. The word hung in the air. Stop. Kofi looked at the crowd, at the traders who depended on him, at the poor who blamed him, at the hungry eyes that still hoped. If he stopped, what would happen? If he continued, what was already happening would only grow. "I can't," he whispered. That night, the old stranger returned. Kofi was alone in the compound, sitting in the dark, the drum before him. He had not heard the man approach. He was simply there, as if the shadows had shaped themselves into a body. "You look tired," the old man said. Kofi jumped to his feet. "You!" The old man smiled faintly. "You accepted my gift." "You cursed me," Kofi snapped. "Look at what this drum has done." The old man knelt slowly, his movements careful. "What has it done," he asked, "that was not already in you?" Kofi opened his mouth, then stopped. "I wanted to help," he said finally. "And you did," the old man replied. "At first." "Then why did it change?" Kofi demanded. The old man's eyes were steady. "It didn't." Kofi's stomach dropped. "That drum does not create hunger or generosity. It only amplifies what it touches. When your heart was clean, people gathered in peace. When pride entered, it spread faster than the sound." Kofi shook his head. "I tried to control it." "That was the moment it controlled you," the old man said gently. Kofi looked down at the drum. His hands trembled. "Take it back," he pleaded. "Please." The old man stood. "It was never mine to take back." Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the dark as before. Kofi did not sleep. At dawn, he carried the drum to the forest. He walked deep between the trees, far from paths and voices, until the sounds of the village faded completely. He raised the drum high. "This ends now," he said aloud. He brought it down against a stone. The drum did not break. The sound that came from it rolled through the forest like a warning. Birds scattered. Kofi fell back, breathless, terrified. The drum lay unharmed. Worse, its surface pulsed faintly beneath his eyes. Kofi began to laugh, a thin, broken sound. "I cannot destroy you," he whispered, "and I cannot keep you." He returned to the village empty-handed. When people asked where the drum was, he said nothing. That day, the market fell into chaos. Without the drum, traders argued fiercely. Crowds scattered instead of gathering. Accusations flew. "You hid it. You sold it. You are punishing us." By evening, stones were thrown at Kofi's hut. Amma stood in the doorway, shaking. "This cannot continue." Kofi nodded slowly. That night, as voices shouted outside, Kofi made his choice. He picked up the drum one last time, not to play, but to walk away. Kofi did not tell anyone where he was going. He stepped into the night with the drum strapped to his back, Amma standing in the doorway behind him, holding their son tightly. The boy slept, unaware that the sound which once fed him was being carried away forever. "Will you come back?" Amma asked. Kofi paused. He did not turn around. "I don't know," he said honestly. The forest swallowed him quickly. Each step away from the village felt heavier than the last. The drum pressed against his back, warm, almost alive, as if it knew what he intended and resisted silently. By dawn, Kofi reached the old forest road where he had first met the stranger. He stopped there. The memories returned sharply. Hunger, kindness, hope. "This is where it began," he murmured. He set the drum down carefully. For a long time, he simply sat beside it. When he finally struck it again, the sound burst outward with familiar power. Birds lifted from trees. The forest seemed to lean closer. Kofi felt the pull immediately, the same rush, the same sense of importance, the same dangerous certainty. "I could go back," the thought whispered. "I could fix this." He closed his eyes. "No," he said aloud. "You don't fix poison by drinking more." Slowly, deliberately, Kofi walked away. The sound of the drum followed him at first, echoing through the trees, then fading until only silence remained. When Kofi returned to the village days later, he looked thinner, calmer. The market barely noticed him at first. Without the drum, the square felt empty. Traders argued louder, buyers moved quickly, no one lingered. Some people looked at Kofi with anger. "You ruined us," one man said. Another spat at his feet. "You took our miracle." Kofi accepted it all without protest. Amma welcomed him quietly. That night they ate little. Hunger had returned, but it felt different now. Honest. Days passed. The village struggled. Without the drum, people were forced to speak to one another again, to bargain, to compromise, to help without spectacle. It was ugly at first. Then slowly, it changed. A trader helped another without asking payment. A group of women shared grain. A man apologized publicly for a fight that had started over Kofi's favor. The elders gathered again beneath the tree. "This place forgot itself and remembered through pain," one said. Kofi stayed away from the center. He walked the fields again. He repaired fences. He fixed broken stools. His hands blistered. His stomach often growled, but his sleep returned. One evening, Yarrow came to him. "You could have kept it," Yarrow said. "Many would have." Kofi nodded. "That is why I couldn't." "Do you regret it?" Yarrow asked. Kofi thought carefully. "I regret how much I enjoyed being needed." Months later, during the next harvest, the elders told a story. Not about magic, about a man who learned that gifts test the heart before they bless the hands. Children listened closely. Some asked, "Was it true?" The elders smiled. "True enough." Far from the village, deep in the forest, the drum lay untouched. No one ever found it. Some said it rotted away. Some said the forest swallowed it. Some said it waited. Kofi never went back to check. He had learned what he needed. Years later, when his son asked why he no longer played the drum, Kofi answered simply, "Because what feeds pride starves peace." And that is why the elders say, the drum was never magic, the curse was never the gift, the danger was the man who forgot when to let go. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more stories where words carry weight. Comment what you would have done if the drum was placed in your hands. And if you want more powerful African folktales rooted in truth and consequence, subscribe to Baobab Folktales. Another story awaits beneath the Baobab.